January 30th, 1944, southeast of Palau, inside the USS Seahorse, 180 feet beneath the Pacific, the air is thick with the smell of unwashed bodies, diesel fumes, and the metallic tang of fear. The crew hasn't slept in 3 days. They have been hunting a Japanese convoy for 80 straight hours. They just sank a freighter, but now the ocean is screaming back. 7 Japanese destroyers, warships, designed for the sole purpose of murdering submarines, have turned their bows toward the Seahorse. Each one carries 72 depth charges. That's 504 high-explosive detonations converging on one point. Lieutenant Commander Slade Cutter is trapped. His batteries are at 40% failing. His submerged speed is a pathetic 9 knots. The destroyers are closing at 35. Standard Navy doctrine says, go deep, go quiet, pray. But Slade Cutter wasn't a standard officer. He was a 215-pound All-American tackle who had spent his youth smashing through lines of men. And he was about to prove that a submarine isn't just a hunter, it's a weapon of psychological attrition. To understand why Cutter didn't die that night, you have to understand the paradox of the man. Born in a small Illinois farming town, Slade Cutter was a national champion flute player. He was so good that John Philip Sousa, the March King, personally judged his performances. But Cutter was also a physical anomaly. At 6 feet 2 inches and 215 pounds of farm-raised muscle, he was recruited to play football for Navy by the legendary Paul Brown. In the 1934 Army-Navy game, in front of 79,000 people, Cutter stepped into ankle-deep mud and kicked a wobbling, impossible field goal to win the game 3-0. He learned early that conditions are irrelevant, only the result matters. When he entered submarine school, he didn't see a steel coffin. He saw a football field where the yard lines were measured in fathoms. By 1943, the U.S. submarine force was suffering from a crisis of confidence. Many commanders were too cautious, firing from long range and missing. Cutter's philosophy was different. Aggression is the only safety. He practiced the down-the-throat attack. It is the most suicidal maneuver in naval history. You point your bow directly at a charging destroyer. You wait until you can see the white of the wake. Then, you fire. If you miss, the destroyer rams you, and you disappear forever. If you hit, you erase the threat in a single blast. This wasn't recklessness. It was calculated attrition. Cutter realized that if you turn and run, you give the destroyer hours to hunt you. If you turn and fight, the engagement is over in seconds. The hunt southeast of Palau became the definitive test of this philosophy. After sinking the Tokumaru, Cutter didn't dive to the bottom to hide. He ordered flank speed, directly toward the nearest destroyer. This is the safe zone paradox. A destroyer's sonar has a blind spot directly beneath its hull. By charging the attacker, Cutter slipped under the ping of the sonar. He passed just 200 feet beneath the destroyer's keel. 6 depth charges exploded above him, but the concussion was pushed upward by the water pressure. But the outlier moment came after the attack. 6 hours into the depth charging, his batteries hit 11%. In a submarine, 11% battery is a death sentence. It means your air scrubbers fail, your lights go out, your pumps stop. You become a steel tomb on the ocean floor. Cutter did the unthinkable. He surfaced. In broad daylight, within radar range of a Japanese airbase and 7 angry destroyers, he brought the Seahorse to the top to let the diesels roar. For 45 minutes, while lookouts scanned the horizon with trembling hands, they sucked in fresh air and forced life back into the batteries. Most commanders would have taken their 1 kill and run for Pearl Harbor. Cutter stayed for 3 more days. He tracked that same convoy across the Philippine Sea, surfacing at night to recharge and submerging at dawn to follow the wakes. He was playing football logistics. He knew the destroyers were running low on fuel and patience. He was waiting for the 4th quarter. On February 1st, 1944, he found his opening in the Luzon Strait. He fired his last 8 torpedoes. The Tomahoko Maru exploded with such force that the gasoline drums on its deck lit up the night for 30 miles. By the time he broke contact, Cutter had sunk 3 ships from 1 convoy, survived 127 individual depth charge detonations, stayed in contact for 80 continuous hours, returned with 0.0% torpedoes and 9% battery. When the Seahorse finally docked, the crew from other boats lined the pier in silence. They wanted to see the man who treated depth charges like football penalties. Admiral Lockwood awarded Cutter the second of what would eventually be 4 Navy crosses. But Cutter's real impact was systemic. He briefed other commanders with a 6-minute presentation. His advice was 11 words long. Get close, shoot straight, don't run until you have to. He wasn't an admiral's favorite, he didn't play politics, and he swore too much. But he was a glitch in the Japanese defense. Between 1943 and 1944, Slade Cutter personally sank 19 ships, totaling over 100,000 tons. Every transport he sank meant 500 fewer soldiers on the beaches of Saipan. Every tanker he burned meant Japanese planes stayed on the ground. He was a one-man embargo. Slade Cutter lived to be 93 years old. He died in 2005, more famous in the Navy for his 1934 field goal than for the 19 ships he sent to the bottom. But his legacy is the philosophy of the charge. He proved that in the three-dimensional kill box of the ocean, the most dangerous thing you can do is try to be safe. Cautious commanders died in ambushes they never saw coming. Aggressive commanders like Cutter chose their battles, dictated the terms, and forced the enemy to react to them. He treated the Pacific like a muddy field in Philadelphia. He knew that if you're surrounded, you're just in a target-rich environment. And if 7 destroyers are hunting you, then you're exactly where you need to be. If the story of the musician warrior who broke the rules of the Pacific moved you, hit that like button. It tells the algorithm that real heroism, the calculated, aggressive kind, deserves to be seen. Subscribe and turn on notifications. We decode the most incredible military outliers every single week. What would you do? With 11% battery and 7 destroyers overhead, would you have surfaced in the daylight or waited for the end in the dark? Let us know in the comments below. We read every single one.